Welcome you all to the series of lectures on entrepreneurship process, entrepreneurship, concepts of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship process and entrepreneurial ecosystem. Today I'm Dr. V. Radhakrishna, working as assistant professor in the Department of Marketing and Strategy, IBS Hyderabad. So today first I will take you through the entrepreneurship process. So entrepreneurship process and what are the nitty-gritties of this process is something that we would be discussing in this lecture. And coming to entrepreneurship, before we discuss about entrepreneurship process, we need to understand what is entrepreneurship. And definition of entrepreneurship is, it is the entrepreneur. Before we define entrepreneur, so entrepreneurship, let us define entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is the one who organizes, manages and assumes the risks of a business or enterprise. So which means, so the entrepreneur is the person who takes all the responsibilities and risks of a business. So whenever he pursues an entrepreneurial journey, he assumes all the risks and manages them. So whatever resources are there at his disposal, he makes use of them, and then whatever risks come out of this, he or she manages all of those. So, and then coming to the entrepreneurship process, so it is the process of creating or seizing an opportunity and pursuing it regardless of the resources currently controlled, which means, so an entrepreneur, whoever is seizing these opportunities and managing the risks of a business, so when in doing so, he has to follow a process. So where he identifies the opportunities, he seizes the opportunity and pursues them, so regardless of the resources that are controlled by him. So it could be owned by him or her, or they could also make use of the resources that are externally available, which means, you have the resources, you have an idea, but you don't have resources. Sometimes, you have to outsource these resources. Technology is something, or human resources, or the financial resources. So irrespective of whether you are, regardless of whether you are controlling them or whether you are they're owned by you, you have to make use of those resources. And the entrepreneurship process is something that helps you in finishing or pursuing the entrepreneurial journey. And moving on to why do we need entrepreneurship process? At first, why do we need this? So to the reasons why do we require a process is to ensure that we don't miss any important aspects in the entrepreneurial journey. So sometimes we might have to collect the data, customer data, or sometimes we may have to have an understanding of what are the market requirements, or what are the dynamics, or what are the legalities required, or what would be the market research, or what are the market segments. So all these details, so meticulously need to consider all these details before you start your entrepreneurial journey. So in the entrepreneurial journey, what happens, if you follow the process, you will not miss out on the important aspects. So if you follow sequential order that's predetermined, the structure will help you in successfully pursuing the entrepreneurial journey. And then the next part of it is, it brings discipline. So an entrepreneur needs absolute discipline. So why does an entrepreneur require discipline is that, so any mistake, so it would cost you dearly, because you are investing a lot of resources, lot of time. So anytime if you don't have that discipline, and if you commit a mistake, then that would cost you dearly, which means you may have to go back to the first phase and then start from the initial phase, which means you are wasting a lot of resources and time. And next, early detection of failure and mistakes. So if you follow the process, maybe if you commit a mistake at stage step 1, step 2 or step 3, so then you would be easily identifying failures or mistakes that you do, which means you will save a lot of time. It would save a lot of time for the entrepreneurs, so that they are aware of what is the mistake that they have done, and then they could immediately rectify it. And next, so let us focus on what are the steps. So we do have a 7-step process for entrepreneurship. So steps in entrepreneurship process, there are 7 steps. So starts with assessing the opportunity and ends with establishing the legal entity. So the first one would be assessing the opportunity, and that's the process. If you look at the 7-step process, it is a iterative process, it is a repetitive process, but it is unorthodox in nature, which means, so if you commit a mistake, or if you identify that there is some fault at any step, so you may have to go back to the step from step 7, you may have to go back to step 6, or sometimes you may have to go back to 4, or sometimes you may have to go back to step 2. So that's why I said it is an unorthodox process. So if you look at the 7-step process, we will discuss each in detail. The first step is assessing the opportunity. So assessing, whenever you are assessing the opportunity, you have you need to explore or identify the opportunities. What are the opportunities that I can seize? So an entrepreneur needs to look from 2 different perspectives. One is, there are market driven factors, and then people driven factors. So market driven factors such as the demand and supply. So whether I have an opportunity from the market, so whether there is demand for something, or whether there is supply of any product or service which I can seize, or whether there is any demand for a product. Now you look at electric vehicles, there is demand for electric vehicles. So now whether you could fit in anywhere in this electric vehicle industry, so since there is huge demand for it, so you can look at, so what are the opportunities. And so similarly you can look at various other opportunities in the interest of your whatever domain you are interested in. So you need to find as many opportunities as possible. So by looking at people driven, such as whether there are changes in the consumption patterns, whether government is affecting any change in terms of the tax or tariffs, so whether you can have a look at it, or whether there is an opportunity for you to cash in. So you will need to look at those opportunities and identify as many opportunities as possible. Okay, once you assess the opportunities and you identify the opportunities, maybe you have come up with 3 or 4 opportunities. Now the next phase, or the next step, is ideation. So ideation, wherein you come up with ideation, is the process where you or the entrepreneurs come up with ideas. So when you are coming up with the process of coming up with ideas, which are when you are trying to seize the opportunity, or when you are trying to cash whatever opportunity that you have identified, so you want to seize that opportunity. For that, the ideation process helps you coming up with as many ideas as possible. So here the techniques, there are different techniques such as brainstorming, focus group, or catchball technique. So wherein these would help you, these techniques would help you to come up with as many ideas as possible. So you can you can take experts' opinion, right? So all these would sometimes you take the survey, take the feedback from the customers, and then inquire what are the requirements. So this would help in coming up with as many ideas as possible. And the third step is idea to opportunity mapping, which is also referred as I2O. So this stage where you have, in the first phase you have come up with ideas, and in the first phase you have come up with opportunities, and in the second step you have come up with ideas, and now you map these opportunities to the ideas. Suppose you have identified an opportunity 1. That opportunity could be mapped with idea 1, and then that opportunity could, and same opportunity could be mapped with idea 2. So if you have come up with different ideas for an opportunity, then you match them and then look at which fits the market requirements better. So what is that the market wants, and whether your idea and opportunity that you have identified, whether they both match, is something that you can look into. And the next step of entrepreneurship process is business model, wherein you once you identify that this idea and this opportunity both are a best match, so therefore I want to pursue that. Okay, so if you have come up with that, then the fourth step, which is crucial, would be, or vital, would be business model. So wherein you are trying to create value through the opportunities, the idea and opportunities that you have identified in the third, which you have mapped in the third step, has to be used to create a value, and therefore this business model would help you in understanding, so how does this business run, how does this business make money, so how money is generated in the business. So in order to understand that, you could either choose a conventional way, or you could also go unconventional. So if you look at the firms such as Google or Facebook, so they use unorthodox or unconventional way of generating money. Unlike the traditional companies where they directly receive, or their business model is that, so they get money from the consumers, direct consumers, your direct users give money to these companies which use conventional business model. However, companies such as Facebook or Google, so they don't, your direct users, they don't give any money. So however, they earn money through their ads, right? Which means the business model that they have adopted is unconventional. So you can choose either ways, but you have to define how are you creating value on the business model, how are you generating money, and how are you creating value for the people whom you have, or whom you have whomever you are rendering services, or whomever you are offering your products. So for them you need to create value. And in the next step would be business plan, wherein the business plan is a detailed manifestation of what is your business model. So in the business model, you only say that this is how I am going to generate money, or this is how I am going to run my business, which generates some money for me. However, a business plan is a detailed manifestation. So what do we mean by detailed manifestation? Here we talk about, so when we are starting a business, so what is the status, or what is the growth of that particular product or service, and what is the potential of that product or service, and then what are the different market segments, who would be using the products or service that I'm going to offer. So, and then you would also mention details of the market segments and target customers, who are the target customers for your products and services, and it could the demographics of it, the age groups, income, all could be mentioned in the business plan and the target customers. And then you also need to talk about competitors, who are your probable competitors. So what kind of competition you would be facing, whether you would be facing direct competition or indirect competition, or you need to discuss about the financial sources, where do you get money from. So whether you are getting it from the formal sources, or whether you are getting the money from informal sources, who would be funding you, and then what are the financial projections for the next few years. So maybe for the next 2 years, what are the financial projections, and when is your break even, which means where you reach a position where there is no loss, no gain, so that break even. And then which means your whatever is invested in the business, you are getting that as a return. And then once you and even you discuss about the future plans, future agenda. So going forward, depending on the potential, so how would you like to expand your business, right? How this is going to shape up is something that you need to discuss. And this business plan also helps in pitching it to the banking institutions or to the venture capitalists or angel investors, and then this, indeed this is the one which excites people, and then this if the business plan is sound enough, you would get a, or you would be attracting a lot of people to invest in your business. And then once a business plan is done, so then the next step in the entrepreneurship process is marshalling the resources. So you in the business plan, you identified that these are the resources that I have got, and I've got these financial resources, I've got this technology to be used, and I've got these marketing mix, or the these are the promotions that I would be using, these are the tools, marketing tools that I would be using. So all are mentioned in the business plan. So therefore you are marshalling all these resources, whatever objectives that you have set for your entrepreneurial journey to pursue that. So these resources are guided. So it is in the sixth step, you are marshalling all those resources in a uniform way, so that they help you in reaching or fulfilling the objective of your entrepreneurial journey. So once you are making use of these resources, the seventh step would be establishing the legal entity. So establishing the legal entity. So giving your firm, registering your firm, or giving your firm or a firm a legal existence. The firm comes into legal existence when you are establishing the legal entity, which means, so all the regulatory bodies, you approach all the regulatory bodies or statutory bodies that help you in registering your firm as a legal entity. So here it could be the process such as obtaining the GST number for you, and registering at the register of companies, giving you what kind of business entity are you. So whether it is a proprietorship, or whether it is partnership firm, or whether it is a private company, right? So all that would be all that would be done in the seventh step. So this is the entrepreneurship process. And as I said initially, so if you find that there is a mistake, or there is some fault at some point of time in any of these steps, so you may have to, if you look at this flow, so it could go from seventh step to sixth, or sixth to 5, or seventh to directly to 4th. So it could happen anywhere. So that's why we are referring this as a unorthodox iterative process. And this is something that keeps repeating. So whenever there is a mistake, you correct it, and then you start working on that, and then you fulfill your objective in the entrepreneurship process. So this is the seventh step entrepreneurship process, and this sums up, as I said, so this is an iterative process, and you need to keep repeating till the time you achieve success.